Hello and welcome back to Marineford TCG. My name's Joe. We're here and we're just going into the finals of the AICHI CS. In the previous round, we saw Blue Yellow Nami defeat Enel in a thrilling battle of triggers. It was quite a good game, so make sure if you haven't checked that one out, you do check out the Blue Yellow Nami player playing against Enel. And of course, as a result, the Blue Yellow Nami player is back here, their third time on stream in this top 16. Really cool. We saw them in top 16 taking on Zoro. Then we saw them in the top 4 taking out Enel. And now we've got them in the finals. I'm excited to see what made it here. The matchup was Bello Betty against Blue Purple Luffy. One that you would expect to be favored for Bello Betty, but it looks like Blue Purple Luffy against all the odds. All the people trying to counter him. He's made it all the way to the finals of the AICHI CS. The last CS of OP11. This is going to be pretty exciting. Blue Yellow Nami traditionally has quite a tough time into the Blue Purple Luffy. However, we have seen a lot of this Nami's cards. She's some pretty good ones into the Blue Purple Luffy. That Kiku Nojo being really good early pressure, especially in combo with the Hiyori. Additionally, 8-cost Kid being able to trash Blue Purple Luffy's card lives to at least try and take some resources off of him is great. Lots of copies of Red Rock as well in this Blue Yellow Nami's deck. And additionally, we've got the 2-cost Teach for extra aggression. Now, looks like the Blue Yellow Nami player is going to be going first. And that is generally okay. Blue Purple Luffy generally prefers first to try and get that triple ramp. Although sometimes the less heavily ramp focused builds of Blue Purple Luffy like to go second. Nami, not too worried. They do play a lot of 4 costs, but being on that odd curve means you can play a 4 cost and still swing 6 on 5. So I don't imagine this will be terribly impactful. We'll have to see if either of these players are going to mulligan. Looks like the Nami player is going to mulligan. And I think the Blue Purple Luffy player is going to do the same. Both these players not happy with their opening hands. You've got to imagine the Nami player very much looking for a 4 cost, either a Cavendish or a Kiku Nojo to play on that 4 Don turn, or on that 5 Don turn for them. And the Blue Purple Luffy, meanwhile, he's looking for ramp. Like, you want to get to the top as soon as possible, Blue Purple Luffy, so that you can start playing out those Sanji Lin Lin, Sanji Luffy, Sanji Kata combos, whichever combinations he's playing in his deck. Last week we saw a 3v3 with a Blue Purple Luffy list that wasn't even playing the 8-cost Katakuri. That massive blocker has been pretty dominant in Blue Purple Luffy lists all throughout OP11. However, that player showed that you don't even need it. Sometimes the Rush Luffy from set 9, the 9-10 that draws a card and gains Rush, sometimes that's just enough. I'm really excited to see how this Blue Yellow Nami player is going to combat the massive board presence of Blue Purple Luffy. Some amount of aggression, I imagine, is going to go a very long way. I'm really excited for this game. I hope you are too. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win this one. My money, personally, is on the Blue Purple Luffy. I've played this matchup quite a bit from both sides, and it feels very good for Blue Purple Luffy. But that was a while ago, and these Blue Yellow Nami lists have clearly adapted to this meta. And who knows? This could be a real showing for Blue Yellow Nami as potentially more of a meta threat than we expected. And we do see the Nami player's hand. We've got that Nojiko, which can bounce perhaps like a Mr. 1 to get some board presence back. Kiku Nojo and Cavendish, he's got the pick of the 4s on 5. Also got that Nami blocker. She's just generically pretty good. And the Hiyori, we may well see the Hiyori come down on 3, putting that Kiku Nojo into life to try and get some trigger value. Whoa, the Blue Purple Luffy player, however, no ramp. That is not a good hand. Double Giants, double Sanjis, and a Lin Lin. Not what you want to see in your opening hand. Not even 1 ramp. That's pretty scary. On that even curve, you really need at least 1 ramp. Ideally, you want 2, so you can enter that 10 Don turn 1 whole turn earlier. But even going 1 ramp to get to the 9, it's not so bad, because then you can play out one of your 9 costs on 9. Playing on curve and just playing out like a Kata on 8, it's very sort of low power, and certainly not what you want to do as Blue Purple Luffy. We all can see the players getting underway real soon here, though. Nami player taking first. And good luck to both these players. Let's get started. And here we are. We're starting the game. Blue Yellow Nami starting off with a simple 1-Don pass. Blue Purple Luffy drawing into the Mr. 2. That's incredibly impactful. In his opening hand, no ramp. You can see he's looking a lot happier now. At least has that one guaranteed ramp. We are going to see the Nami. I expect maybe playing out that Hiyori Kikunojo combo. Going to draw into an 8-cost Luffy. That'll be pretty nice later on. 6k at the blue-purple Luffy. Usually blue-purple Luffy likes to take his first hit. But you never know. This is just a simple 6, so he could choose to counter with a 2k. Has a couple of those Sanjis. And is going to do just that by the looks of it. Considering his options, and does counter with that Sanji. Very nice. And indeed, as expected, we do see the Hiyori taking a life. What do we get? And we're going to put that Kikunojo in there, no doubt. Looks like we got a Satori out of life. So there was trigger there anyway. And then we do, of course, get to draw a card with the Nami's leader effect. And that drew us into another Kikunojo. So Luffy on 4 could choose to not attack this Nami. He's got to sort of be assuming there's some kind of stinky trigger that's gone in this Nami player's life. As a result, he might not attack. Looks like he's considering attacking though. Maybe he thinks it's more of like a Raging Tiger trigger to remove a Bon Clay. Tough call, tough call. We did see the draw on AICHI. Another 2k, nothing too crazy. He's still debating whether or not to swing 6. I think it sort of depends on what triggers you're fearing. That Kikunojo for the early pressure is pretty crazy if they can get it off. And it looks like they are going to get it off. And there it is. The Kikunojo hits the board. 6k stat line. Great into blue-purple Luffy. Going to enable the Nami player on the next turn to do 2 6s and still play out that Cavendish. Blue-purple Luffy, of course, goes with his Bon Clay. Ramps 1 is active, up to 5 Don, 7 next turn. Not able to get any double ramps yet, but hopefully we'll be able to find one more on the next turn so that he can enter that next turn on full 10 Don. We are going to start, however, with 6k from Kikunojo into life 6 on 6. We've also got the Nami swing. The blue-purple Luffy player doesn't know how big this swing is going to be, so he may well choose to counter with a 2k. Nami did indeed draw into another Cavendish, which is pretty good. Likely to see one of those hit the board here, so that we can continue to generate card value as the Nami player. Looks like we have got a trigger here. We're not going to use it though. It was just a 2-cost chopper blocker. Okay. And then the Nami player is going to use their leader effect to draw a card. Draws into a third Cavendish. That's definitely not helpful. I doubt we'll see too many of those hit the board. Looks like he's dialing up the Nami blocker instead of the Cavendish, which is totally fair. Gets that 6k stat line blocker and the cycle. Cycle out a couple of those Cavendish, I imagine. And we do indeed see 2 of those gone. We see a Red Rock, which can be really good, especially if the Luffy cannot play Sanji immediately. If you can Red Rock their first target and it's just, for example, a Lin Lin on its own, you're kind of popping off. And we do see no more ramp for the blue-purple Luffy, so we're going to be entering this next turn on 9, not 10, which means no leader effect. And that means no Sanji, realistically. So next turn, we're likely to just see that Lin Lin hit the field. May well choose to attack with this Bon Clay as a result. Not seeing the double ramp really gives you a massive disadvantage at the start of this game. And also having that Kikunojo on the board. Like, imagine if that Kiku wasn't there. We're still at 3 life. We've got very little pressure next turn. It's crazy how much difference that one trigger can make. Every little play in these high-stakes games can make the world of difference. Looks like we are going to see the Bon Clay swinging in for 8. Interesting to see if this goes into the leader, or if he accepts the Onkei of the Kikunojo and just removes it. He's thinking hard. And then we'll have, what's this, 5 more Dons remaining. So we could swing 11 with the leader into something. We're debating hard. Nothing too crazy going on in the hand, unfortunately. We do have an AICHI, but that's not live. We also have a Sanji, but that's not live either. And we do see the pitch. Looks like that was 8 into lead, but there is no Don on the Nami leader. So you can't use that leader effect to go to 7. Which is pretty cool. Nami player did look like they were going to, on autopilot, discard that Cavendish to go to 7. Not allowed as per the rules. So we may well see a couple of 2Ks come out here. And we do, ditching those 2 Satoris to go up to 9k, countering out that Bon Clay's hit. And then what are we going to see with the rest of this? Maybe we see the chopper blocker, just as a blocker. I'm not going to ramp any Dons, but still a blocker nonetheless. Not much else going on. Other than that, it's looking like an 11. The Usahachi requires you to have 8 Don on the board to rest anything. So he's not online yet. We are going to see another 8k swing though. Where's this going into? Is this going to go into the Kikunojo to alleviate the pressure? Nope, going once again into life. No trigger on that one, just a 2-cost teach. And then it looks like we are going to play that chopper. No ramp, sadly, but we do get a little chump blocker. Not too bad. Passing over to the Nami player here. They're going to draw for turn. They get another Nojiko. That Nojiko bouncing the chopper blocker could be an interesting play. If he wants to be even more aggressive at life. We also have the Cavendish that we can play out this turn. We are on 7, so no 8-cost Luffy quite yet. But that 8-cost Luffy is a very, very powerful card. Looks like we are swinging 1k with the Hiyori into the Mr. 2. Get some value out of the Hiyori that we played all those turns ago. Turn her into an attacker. Doesn't have hands much, but hey, when there's a Mr. 2 around, he's pretty weak, and we do see the removal of the Mr. 2. Now we have 6 more Dons. I'd imagine potentially we'll see the Cavendish or that second Kikunojo hit the board. We are going to start with a 6 from Kikunojo into life, though, asking for 1k counter. The Luffy player does have a couple 2ks, but nothing too crazy. And looks like he's going to take this one, digging for a ramp trigger, I imagine. But we're not going to see that. We're going to see a gear second. I'm sure he'd have loved to have that last turn. Hey, it is what it is. And the Nami player does resolve their leader effect, drawing that 8-cost kid. He'll be pretty good next turn, you'd potentially think, if that red rock is not the preferred weapon of choice. We do see 6 with the blocker. No point in leaving her up when you can get some extra pressure. And we are going to see that Sanji ditch, that 2k Sanji. Luffy, not going to want to go down to 0, obviously. And the Nami player is just going to want to get as much pressure as possible at this point in the game. Looks like they're eyeing up that 2-cost teach, potentially, to get extra value on the future turns, which could be pretty powerful. Looks like we're just going to go with a 6, though. No 2-cost teach, 6 for this, and then 4 for one of our 4 costs, maybe. Holding 1 Don open? Not really sure what for. Does he have another Nami blocker, and I haven't seen it? Maybe. We're going to go 6 into leader. Looks like we're eyeing up countering with that gear second, which is pretty interesting. We're not going to have any Dons open next turn as Luffy, because you're very likely to play one of those 9 costs on 9. We do see that Cavendish hit the field, 1 Don open. I don't see any counter events in his hand. But hey, bluffing one's no bad, right? The Luffy player did just give us a 2k for a 6k swing. So swinging 7 versus swinging 6, not that big a deal. And indeed, they used gear second anyway, so again, doesn't really matter. We will see the blue-purple Luffy player drawing up to 9, not 10, so no leader effect. Getting another 2k in that off the top in that Usohachi. And we do see 6k into the blocker Nami, potentially. Yeah, 6k into blocker Nami, ditching that teach for the 1k. And then you imagine we'll see the Linlin come down here. Could YOLO with the Sanji, be pretty funny, but in a high-stakes environment like this, you can't really afford to do that. The Linlin, I think, is the clear choice. You get to remove one of Nami's bodies, get an extra life, and establish a big dude. We know that the Nami has multiple possible counters to that, though. She's got the Red Rock, which can just remove the Linlin, or you can go with the Kid to trash the life and keep up offensive pressure. Really good choices for Nami, and we are going to see this Linlin hit the board. Don -1, trashing, probably, maybe one of those giants from hand. Looks like we're eyeing up the Sanji, though. Yeah, we're going to eye up the Sanji, fair enough. Heal to 2. And then, what are we putting in life? It's got to be that Cavendish, right? The Kikunojo has a trigger, and the Nami is a blocker, but the Cavendish drawing extra cards, keeping up that, like, revolving door of card draw for the Nami player, to get her even closer to the answers that she needs to see. Cavendish seems like the likely target, and does put the Cavendish at the top, which is interesting. I guess he just doesn't want to give the Nami player another aggressive trigger, like Kikunojo in the next couple turns. However, putting it at the top is slightly weird. You usually see bricks go to the bottom, right? So that you know when you're going for lethal, that last life is a brick. Makes your lethal a lot easier. And we do see the Nami player drawing up to 9 Don, I believe. And then we do see that Kiku Nojo swing come down. 6 on 6. Likely counter out of this one. You really need to stay at that 10 Don for next turn, of course. Yeah, it looks like the Nami player forgot to draw their Don. They definitely should be at 9. They were on 7 last turn. Yeah. And we will see whether the Luffy player wants to counter that 6. You've got to imagine he's going to have to counter at least this one, because there's another couple hits coming in. But he's not going to. Doesn't decide to. Looks like he's going to take that life. No triggers, just another 9-cost Sanji. That's a nice one though, right? That 9-cost Sanji next turn, if you can get another Lin especially, will be really good. 6k from the Nami blocker. Coming in at life. Could see a block. Could see a 2k. You can't imagine he's going to want to go to 0, because Nami has a very, very easy time removing those little chump blockers with cards like Zeus and Nojiko. And also that 8-cost Luffy. So you really don't want to be at 0 life into this Nami. Not now. It's way too early in the game for that. I really imagine we will see that Usahachi coming down. Not really sure what the great debate is. Would be a little crazy to place that aggressively. Yeah, and we do see the Usahachi looking like it's going to come out of this guy's hand. Countering this swing of 6 from the Nami blocker. And indeed we do. 2000 counter, Nami considering her options. We are going to see that 8-cost Luffy come down. Going to rush in, get rid of that chopper blocker back to hand. And we're going to demand at least 1 or 2 more cards out of this Luffy. We do indeed see 8. Trashing a Kiku Nojo, bouncing that chopper. 1 rested Don on the leader, buffing that leader up to that 6k for her swing. And giving us the use of the leader's effect, which is pretty good. We will see the Luffy take this 8. I think that's smart. Countering an 8 would be pretty costly. We do get an extra Lin. That could be pretty nice. Nami's going to draw off her leader effect. Getting an 8-cost kid. Got 3 of those now. Perhaps slightly too many. And then we will see a swing of 6. Again, just going to be countering with that chopper blocker that was bounced back from the Luffy. And with the final Don, we do see a law. I didn't even see that in the Nami player's hand. That's pretty cool, though. Means that if this big Lin tries to attack into, for example, the Kiku Nojo or the 6k Nami blocker, you can just block for free. And this top 5 is not amazing. We see a Raging Tiger, another 9-cost Sanji, a Nami blocker, a Giant, and a Bargua. It must be said, the Raging Tiger is pretty good right now. However, with 0 life, it's kind of risky. It is kind of risky. We do have Giants in hand, though, already. Maybe we could do something like Raging Tiger, hold the remaining 3, and then Giant into that Bargua, so you can Giant Bargua for 8k, and then you only need to give like a 2k to get out of the Nami leader's swing. But he also has that massive Luffy. So it's going to be kind of tough. I'm not sure if this 5 is good enough. If you don't remove these bodies, you're in a really rough spot. And if you do, you don't have any lives, so we kind of want to play the Lin. But then you're not removing enough, really. So it's a tough call here for this blue-purple Luffy player. He's going to be calling on his experience as much as possible. You do have 3 Giants in theory. So you could technically get out of this pretty easily. If you do the Raging Tiger and then keep 3 up and play 3 Giants, that's really expensive. You go back way too low on Don, in my opinion, to ever have a chance to come back. This is a really tough stack for him to consider. I think that Raging Tiger is a strong option. But man, how do you ever get to live through the 8-cost Luffy and the leader swing? That's pretty crazy. We'll see what he goes for here. He's got to choose which one he wants to draw to hand first. You've got to imagine that will be the 5-cost Nami regardless, because it's a 1k. Doesn't give your opponent much information. If you take the Giant, they know you've got at least 1 Giant. So taking the Nami to just give them information about a 1k can be pretty good. And we do see the take on that Nami, by the looks of it. Yep, and the remaining stack, it looks like potentially that Raging Tiger is going on top. So we draw into that. Then underneath that currently is the Sanji. Yeah, there we go. There's a big blow up. Yes, we've got Tiger, Sanji, Gum Gum, and Bargworst, but we're going to put that Sanji to the bottom. Yeah, we're putting that Sanji to the bottom, so if we use our Giant, we're going to draw into Bargwa plus Giant, which gives us the most options for that counter, which is pretty good. Smart play, I think. So we're probably going to play that Raging Tiger, get rid of the Nami blocker and the Kiku Nojo, which is pretty good. And then we'll see maybe the Lin Lin swing into that Luffy just to get a card or two. We do see the Luffy leader swinging just for 6. So it looks like he is going to do that play that I was thinking about where you hold the remaining 3 up for lots of counter. We do go to 7 by countering with that Nojiko. Lin Lin hit, just going to get eaten by that chump blocker, sending those 2 to the bottom. So all the Nami player's got is a Luffy. But the Luffy player's got no life. He's got no life. We could see the Nami player do something as simple as 6 with the lead. And then what's left? It's 17 with the Luffy. Which is pretty crazy, right? 6-17 is going to be very hard to counter out of. But with 3 Don, there's always a way, right? Nami draws into an Odin. Could choose to slow the game down by playing out that Odin to get extra aggression in the future. But you've got to think that's potentially letting this Luffy player get back into it. Which, that's tough. That's a tough call to make. It's a really tough call to make. I wonder if we ever just see 8 with the Luffy come first. And then you still have the option of 15 with the leader after the 8. And it demands basically an event or 2 cards out of the Luffy player. Those kids, very bad. When the opponent's at 0 life, it's not great. We do see the 6. Yep, just going to trash the Nami blocker off of that one. Will we see this Luffy swinging for 17 and end it all right here? The Luffy player won't die, but they certainly won't be in a good spot. With so few Don after having to use those Giants. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Does the Nami player have the balls? Can't believe this game is ending quite so fast, man. The Nami player, really aggressive. Able to be so aggressive with that Kiku Nojo that getting that off the trigger has really put this blue-purple Luffy player in a really tough spot all game. You've got to wonder how different this game would be if he just didn't swing 6 on that first turn. You just don't give them the trigger. I mean, the game slows right down. He'd probably have a bunch more cards and a life at this point. It's a tough call, always a tough call when to be aggressive into the Nami, but when you see the Hiyori, you gotta be curious as to what's there. We're seeing this Nami player. This is a big decision. If they go for 17, game could be over right here. But equally, if he has the counter, and we know he does in those Giants, who knows what will happen? Maybe the blue-purple Luffy player will find a way to come back into this game, but his back is certainly against the wall. One nice thing to note for the Luffy is when you're at 0 life, the Nami has a lot of trouble activating her leader effect because she can't do it by damage. She has to do it by taking her own life, which then sort of does start to starve the Nami player of a few cards, which it's something nice to note, but there's really not that many nice things to note for this Luffy player at this very moment. We've been thinking quite a while here. I think we've got to make a call at the end of the day. This is taking quite some time. Don't imagine there'll be too many turns left in this game. But if all the turns are this slow, then I wonder if we'd ever go to time. He's been here for like 2-3 minutes thinking about this play, this Nami player. I know it's a tough call, but come on, man. You got to do something at some point. It's only so long in the game. We're down to 10.5 minutes out of a possible 30. And there's a picture of Bargwa. Bargwa, if you don't know, you use it to 4k counter. Then it ramps a Don back as rested. So it sort of negates some of the penalty from your Giant. Not going to go for the 17. Going to go 7 Don from Odin. And will we see the swing with the 8-cost Luffy? Luffy player giving a thumbs up to the cameras. He's hyped by that play. And we are going to see, it looks like 10k from the Luffy. Using his effect to ditch one of those useless kids. Pick up the Hiyori just as a little 2k. And then one more Don onto the Luffy. So we're swinging 11. That's pretty simple for this blue-purple Luffy, right? You've got the Giant, and he's got that Usohachi. So we'll likely see the Giant ditching either the Lin or the Sanji, whichever he sort of values less. Looks like it's going to be that Sanji. The Lin having the guaranteed heal, whereas the Sanji is a bit more of a gamble because you never know quite what's going to be on the top of your deck before you enter the start of your turn. And we do see, of course, the ditch on that Usohachi as well. Leaving some Dons open for next turn could be another interesting play. We'll see if he's able to take out this Luffy. But that Odin being able to swing twice is pretty brutal. And as the blue-purple Luffy player starts their turn, let's take a look at their stack. We do know a couple of these, I believe. Yeah, there's the Sanji we saw from last turn. We do have a Katakuri blocker. We've got a Gear second, a Nami blocker, and an Usohachi. So we have a lot of counter events in hand. But if we want to use those, you obviously can't use the Sanji. You can't really use the Katakuri. So potentially eyeing up just playing a Nami blocker. That's incredibly vulnerable into the Nami especially. With cards like Nojiko and Zeus able to take that out for just as low as 2 Don. And that Odin potentially able to swing twice. If he was to play out like the Nami blocker, even off the Sanji, the Nami player could use his Zeus or Nojiko to bounce that Nami and then swing with the Odin and use the Odin's effect to return the Zeus or Nojiko to the hand, then swing again. Which, I mean, it's pretty brutal. That's pretty brutal. It's looking like it might be all over for our friend here on the blue-purple Luffy. Really tough spot. Obviously got a million counter with those events. But the Nami player having an extra 2 swings on the board compared to last turn, it's tough, right? You gotta count for the blue Luffy's swing, and also then the 2 from the Odin and the leader swing. Looks like we're eyeing up the Usohachi. Yeah, looks like we're eyeing up taking the Usohachi, and then what are we gonna stack? Maybe we put the Nami on top just as a 1k, and then the Gear second as a bit of a counter event. But the Katakuri could also be good just to be a really big blocker that Nami player cannot interact with. Nojiko and Zeus both hit a 5. Doesn't really have anything that hits an 8 other than Red Rock. And Red Rock's very expensive, so that would be interesting. We're weighing up our decisions here. This is a big call. These stacks for the blue-purple Luffy in this game in particular have been incredibly pivotal. And I don't think any of them are quite what he was looking for. But we'll see if he's able to find a way to get out of these woods. He's had his back against the wall from, like, turn 3. Whiffing that second ramp, been so crazy. That Kikunojo trigger and whiffing the second ramp have been absolutely everything. Looks like we're debating putting the Katakuri on the top. Draw into that. He's thinking hard. I think is that the Katakuri on the top? That is the Katakuri. We're debating our choice though. If you play the Katakuri, it means you can't use the Thunder Bagua, because all you have Dons open for is 2 1-cost events. Realistically, it's going to be 2 Giants, and you're still going to lose that Katakuri blocker. Looks like he's debating the Nami. The Nami lets you use loads more events. But if he has the removal for the Nami, and we can see he does, he has that Nojiko. That could be pretty crazy, right? We are going to see the draw on the Nami. 6 at lead. We're going to pitch one more of these Captain Kids, I guess, for the leader effect. No real need to take here. Yeah, we do pitch the Captain Kid, go to 7. Seems good. Then we're going to see 9 into the Luffy. Surely not all the Dons. Surely not all the Dons. We currently have 4 Dons worth of events, and we know we're drawing into a Gear second as well. So 10 is safe. You can hold 4 if he's going with this Nami line, which it looks like he is. And he trashes the Nojiko. The Nojiko that could have just bounced this Nami is in the trash. Now we have to Red Rock if we want to get rid of this Nami. And that's so much more expensive, right? That's 4. That's 6, sorry, as opposed to 2. That's 4 extra Dons it's going to cost to remove this Nami. And with that Odin mandating the resting of 3 Dons to restand, If you use that red rock to get rid of the Nami, then use the Odin's effect, you've only got one more Don. And yes, that Luffy can give one rested, but that's not that much. Not with 4 Dons open for this blue-purple Luffy player. Man, he's got to be kicking himself for getting rid of that Nojiko. That would be crazy right now. That would be crazy. Oh wow, what a turn of events. What did he draw off the top deck? I can't see. Is that a Gum Gum Red Hawk? That's not live at the minute, right? And that Gum Gum Red Hawk off the top, not online. Only live when you and your opponent's life total is 5 or more. So really good at the start of the game for removing a 5 cost. At the end of the game, it's really just a 3k counter, which is a little bit of a shame here for this Nami player. Imagine if he had that Nojiko though. That'd be crazy, man. What a difference that's made. This blue-purple Luffy player. That's crazy. And only 3 minutes left on the clock. So the Japanese rulings for time are a little different from ours. Once the clock hits 0, depending on whose turn it is, you get an extra amount of turns. So whoever's turn it is when time is called is turn 0. And then after that, if turn 0 is the player who went first, you play 3 more turns. 1, 2, 3. If the turn 0 player is the player who went second, you only play 2 more turns. So that's 0, 1, 2. So that could be pretty impactful here. And then of course the tiebreakers goes on the amount of life first, then cards in deck, then characters on board. So we will see a 9k swing from the Nami, which is a pretty bad number. 9 into Luffy, it's just a giant, very, very simple. We do see the Red Rock come down. Is he going to Red Rock the Nami and go for game? Or is he going to get rid of the Lin and try and extend the game? But there's only 2 minutes on the clock. There's not much extending that this game can do, which is quite concerning. He is going to Red Rock the Lin though. Perhaps thinking in 1 or 2 more turns he can get there, but yeah, I'm not sure how many more turns he's got. We do see another 8k swing at lead, ditching the Gum Gum Red Hawk, another 9k swing. But as we just discussed, 9 is a really, really bad number. You don't want to be swinging 9 into the blue-purple Luffy. And we do see the Bagua 4k counter, exact math. Ramping one back is rested as well. That doesn't really matter too much, but, you know, it's okay. We've got this Odin, but the Odin's not going to swing. The Odin doesn't swing, and we do see the stack from the blue-purple Luffy player coming up. We've got another Nami. We've also got a Raging Tiger, that's not very good. We've got a Lin, we've already got one of those. We've got a 3-cost Zorojiro, and another Bagua. Are we going to see the same play again? Where he plays out another Nami, keeps developing these blockers, and tries to go another turn. Can draw into another counter event. Pretty good. Cycle out the hand some more. Try and draw these counters. Just try and survive. Try everything he can to survive this onslaught from the Blue Yellow Nami. Looks like it's the grab, right? I think the Nami is always the grab, unless you want to bluff and take the Zorojiro. And then put the Nami on top. And looks like that might be just what he does. We do indeed see the Zorojiro, right? Both these players have got to be considering the time rules. Blue-purple Luffy can heal, right? I don't believe this Nami player plays any healing cards. Obviously, yellow, very well known for their ability to heal. But I don't believe this player is playing any healing at the minute. We do see the Zorojiro grab off the ability. And the top deck into the Nami. We're going to do the same thing again. Play out another Nami and go another turn. We do see the 9 into that 8-cost Luffy, removing that. Pressure is alleviated. We've got double blockers. We've got only 1 Don open. But with only the Odin on the board and double blockers, it's going to be pretty hard for this Nami player to go for game. And that is time on the round. So because the blue-purple Luffy player went second, they're now turn 0. And you're going to play turn 0 for the blue-purple Luffy. Turn 1 for the Blue Yellow Nami, and turn 2 for the Blue Purple Luffy. And then at the end of the Blue Purple Luffy player's turn 2, whoever is ahead on life cards, and then cards in deck, and then characters on board, is going to win this game if neither player wins it outright. At the moment, it looks like the Blue Purple Luffy player could get there. If they can somehow force the Nami player down to 0, and then play out this Lin. They could win. It's a big ask, but they could win. Let's see how this goes here. I'm really interested to see how this goes. He's doing the cycle off the Nami. I'm not too sure what he's getting rid of at the minute, but I've got a little bit caught up in the hype of time being announced. We do see the bottom two. We've got a lot of events in hand as Luffy, but only one Don active. This Nami player still has a chance to go for game, with that Odin being able to swing twice, but currently doesn't have a character that they can play and then pick up with the Odin, because the Odin's effect costs 3 Don. What do we draw? This draw is everything. This draw for this Nami player is everything. We are entering the Nami player's final turn. And it looks like they drew... Is that a red rock? Is that just a... That's just a red rock. That is not... That's not what they need. They can't use the Odin's effect to restand. So they've got 2 swings. We are going to see 7 come in from the Nami. And we do see the ditch on the Frenosuke. We're going to play the kid for fun. Draw 1 track. We're not even swinging with the Odin. Draw 1. We draw another red rock. Trashing the red. Why is this Odin not swinging? I don't understand why this Odin's not swinging. I'll be honest. Maybe he just doesn't want to give the Luffy the cycle off of a giant, but... If they were able to swing there big with the Odin, maybe take one of those Namis off the board, maybe the Luffy player can't go for game. Because currently they've got 3 attacks, and they've got a Lin. And the Lin can heal, right? We are going to see the grab on that stack of the Nami blocker. None of these cards look very good, but we're just going to put them back on top, I guess. And then we are going to begin the blue-purple Luffy player's final turn, the final turn of the game. We do draw a Zoro Juro, which is fine, I guess. We're going to see 6 into the Nami player, and they're going to take. We're going to see 6 into the Nami player, and they're going to trigger out a Kiku Nojo. We see 7. Why is he not leader affecting? And then we see the Lin, and that's the heal, and that's GG's. Because he goes to 1. And then that's the end of the game. Am I wrong? Is my understanding of time wrong? Why did he not use the leader effect? That's crazy. Let's go back. Let's go back. So here's the board state, right? He's got 1 card in hand. It's a red rock. But he's got Don on leader. So he can go to 7. He's going to take the 6 from leader. If he just counters that one with the leader effect, then this 6 also doesn't go through. That 6 doesn't go through. This 7 will go through, but he'll still be at 2 life. And the Luffy can only get to 1, right? Yeah, that's just it, right? That's the game. If he just uses his leader effect. Am I missing something? Let me know in the comments if I'm missing something, but this looks like a generational throw. Because then he can't counter this 7 because he's drawn all bricks. And then the Lin just heals. And then he wins because he's got a life. But if he just can't use the leader effect and trash the red rock to go to 7. Is there a way for the Luffy player to win in that case? I don't think so. Wow, well, blue-purple Luffy won. If you know why that endgame played out as it did, if I was wrong maybe the rules in Japan are different somehow, but I don't know, it felt like that Blue Yellow Nami player just kind of threw the entire game by not using their leader effect. Not sure. Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but that was kind of crazy.